Annyeong, it's Mikey here with another video for you guys this week. And sorry, my voice does sound like this. I have a cold, and but I'm still making sure to make these videos for you guys. And today I got something fun, and of course, thank you guys again so much for subscribing and helping me support the channel, because I just can't believe how far it's come. Now, I want to thank Monsgeek because they sent me out their new Fun60, and I got the Fun60 Ultra version because it's the aluminum case. There is a Max and there is just a Fun60, the basic version, but we're going to go straight into the unboxing, sound test, teardown, and see how good this is for gaming, and is this going to be the one that's worth your money. So let's get straight into the video, and hope you guys like, subscribe, and leave a comment.
So starting off with the unboxing of the Fun60 Ultra wired version. Thank you again, Monsgeek, for sending me this out, and also sending out a bunch of extra switches too. Thank you to Aqua for that. Now, first off, this box definitely gives off gamer vibes, as you could tell from the image in the front. They give you a keycap puller, switch puller, the Aqua ones, and just a regular cable. Now, of course, we're going to take a look at the board itself, and you get this extra manual, which is great. Gives you in many different languages, actually quite surprising of the amount of languages that are on there, and even Korean, which is really cool. Now, let's take a look at this board. So it is a full aluminum case, which is really nice. I do appreciate that. And considering the price, really, really nice to have. Now, it is a very basic look. It does remind you of something, right? It reminds you of a Wu-Ting. So it does look very similar to Wu-Ting, but we're going to weigh this. It's 964 grams, and let's hear what it sounds like. So now that we did all the sound tests, of course, we're going to have to tear this down. So opening up the whole board, and one thing is looking for the screws. So this thing is completely screwed on to the case, so we have to find all the screws. I'm not exactly sure yet how many screws there are, but of course we're going to have to locate them, and then of course I'll show you all the screw locations so that when you do get yourself one, you can easily find the screws, open it up, and modify it yourself. So as you can see, like, I'm constantly looking up and down. Where is it? Where am I looking at? And sometimes you never know. Like sometimes there's like those QC stickers that are on there, and sometimes it could be under those. So I'm really just thoroughly checking before I really open it all up to make sure that we can open this up really easily. Now it looks like so far only 5 screws, which is really nice because the more screws that are in there, the more annoying it gets to actually opening up a keyboard. So I do appreciate less screws, but at the same time, does that mean less stability? It could depend. Depends on how well the company really did it. Sometimes, yes, you're right. With the least amount of screws, it could kind of make it less stable in terms of putting in the board. But this seems really good though. Very well in there. As you can see, it's right between right between the tab and Q and the control windows, in the middle between the G, H, and B, and then we have one by the like underneath the backspace, and then as well as between control and the menu button. So just have to remove all 5 screws, and then it should be super easy to open this up, which of course I want to get all the screws out, and then just putting it upside down, boom, comes right out, not a problem. So very simple, very easy. Much appreciated that this thing is very easy to open. Now one thing is try to remove the ribbon cable or data cable from the PCB portion. That one was actually quite difficult to remove, so I removed the one actually connected to the case, which was much easier to do. Now, as you can see, there is no foam on the back of the PCB, as well as this is a plate mounted stabilizer, which is actually not coming lubed. So just keep in mind that, guys. So it comes with an aluminum plate, has a nice foam in between the PCB and the plate. Really nice. It's actual foam, not like silicone. And as you can see there, so that is their new ARM CPU. Like it actually has a dedicated like CPU, almost like a processor that's built into the PCB to be able to actually run this board. So this does come in wired or wireless version, and as you can see there, where that foam is actually where the battery should be. And I do appreciate how Monsgeek actually filled it up with some foam so that you don't have too much empty space. Now this is going to be, interesting to see how to mod this, of course, as we do seem to have a lot of space inside the case, and there is no foam on the back of the PCB. So what I'm going to do is, of course, tape mod it and even add my sound dampening in the bottom of the board. So as you guys know, I like to use the car sound dampener, and of course I'll link it in the description below, that so you can be able to grab one yourself. It's like I think in the States it's Killmat. It's really easy to use. You can like measure it up, cut it up however you need to. And the nice thing about it too is, see how I have to cut up this piece right here? You can actually always use those for other pieces and other sides, and that's what I did, right? It never goes to waste, which is great, and you can always find good uses for them. So I'm going to do 1 layer of tape. That's it. I don't need to do more because I already have so much dampening inside the case as well. And we're going to now put this all back together. Should be super simple. And as you can see, that was really quick. Teardown was super quick. Modding was super quick. Gotta appreciate what they did. I really love how they did that. Make sure you also poke holes where the screws should be going through, because that's how the case has been built. So we have these poles that come out. You want to make sure to actually poke holes, or it's going to be really difficult to do. So putting it all back together now. And of course, I do want to modify the spacebar a little bit because I feel like it was having a bit of a hollow sound. Actually, I think later on though, because I'm doing my voiceover now afterwards, is maybe it doesn't actually need to be filled up, and it's just that the stabilizers needed some lubing. So as I said earlier, these stabilizers they were really good, but I think the stabilizers just needed to be lubed. So just keeping that in mind. And of course, let's do a modded sound test. So as I mentioned earlier, I actually got Akko to send me Starlit switches, their new one, and Monsgeek also sent me their green fog. So we're going to have to, of course, take a look at these switches in this board because this board is something special. Sorry that my camera wasn't focusing. I actually had to make it focus in, but this board can also use mechanical switches. So we're going to do a sound test of both of those stock and lubed. So now that we're done with all those sound tests, we're going to have to review this board. Now, the best comparison to this board at the moment is going to be, of course, the Wu-Ting 60 and much more. But I love how this case is aluminum, right? This is the Monsgeek Ultra. So the Ultra is the one that comes with the aluminum board. Also, as you can see, this is only the wired version. There is an actual tri-mode version. You can actually, pay more money and get the tri-mode with the batteries because, again, this thing can use mechanical switches. That's actually really cool. The fact is they have a processor that's able to constantly tell and read through the switches to see which one you're using, Hall effect or mechanical. And actually you can actually mix and match. So you can actually do either both, like rest of the keys mechanical, and then just the ones that you want Hall effect to be using Hall effect board switches. Now, there is a bit of a mistake here on this board that I think is a huge thing. The FN is right beside the alt instead of in the corner. Any 60% you get, and most of the 60% is actually, like, look at the Wu-Ting, the FN is actually in the far right corner. It is actually quite important, and I think is a missed opportunity from Monsgeek. They should have done that because it makes it really uncomfortable to do like the arrow keys. Now, as I mentioned earlier, these are plate mounted stabilizers, and I said, like, I actually had to lube them up a bit. So this is after I lubed them up. They don't actually come pre-lubed nicely, so you make sure you do that. And one way I do it is I actually have a syringe with some Krytox in it, and I just put it in and I add some lube in there. It really helped a lot, and that's something that you guys should really keep in mind of. Now, one thing for this one is it comes with the ACO switch. So this is the ACO Hall effect switch. They made a new one just for this Monsgeek Fun60, and it's actually really well done. I actually really like it. The lighting doesn't have this too much of a green hue to it, which is great. And the fact is, it actually sounds really nice. I was quite surprised because I've done so many different Hall effect switches for my Wu-Ting, and my goodness, this thing sounds really good. And it felt really smooth after you lubed it. It was really well done, and I actually have to admit, it was incredibly well done. And I wish ACO actually would release their own version of Hall effect switches. I would be interesting to see, and of course I would do more tests with the Wu-Ting. Actually, those switches does work with the Wu-Ting. So surprisingly enough, it does work with Wu-Ting, but it's just not sold, so that's why I haven't made a video with it in my Wu-Ting. Now, showing you guys the Starlit switches from ACO and the fog, the green fog from Monsgeek. These are really interesting switches. They're actually kind of similar to each other. So interestingly enough, they both have a very similar sound profile to each other. Though it might be because I was using in the Fun60 after I modded it that it sounded like that, but I felt like they were quite similar in terms of the sound profile. They were a bit of a poppy, thawky switch, which was really nice. Now, I'm going to have to, of course, see the backlighting situation for both of them to see, how does it look in the backlighting. But I really did like it. The Monsgeek Fog is a bit of a heavier switch for the spring, but I actually did appreciate it. I think it didn't feel too horrible to type on either. And as you can see, sorry here, I have to make sure to make my lens focus the camera. Sometimes it doesn't catch the switch really well. And sorry, I just dropped my switch there, but I don't know what it is. I have to manually focus it, which is sometimes really annoying. But as you can see there, so this is the stem wobble test, and it's actually not bad. It does have a very slight stem wobble to it, but it's very, very slight, and it's not too bad at all. I was quite surprised with it. Now I want to show you guys, of course, the fog as well, doing the stem wobble test. But yeah, I mean, both of these switches were quite well done, I feel. Like, the stem wobble was not too bad, and it's not like say some other switches where like you really feel that stem wobble when you're actually like pressing on a key. And most of the times I feel like when typing you don't notice these things. It's more noticeable when you're actually playing a video game, like you're actually pressing down a key for a long time. Now, I do want to do a backlight test. Right now I actually had still the fog in the keyboard. The top is actually the ACO Hall effect switches. The letters are the Monsgeek fog switches, and then right there on the D is going to be the Starlit switch. So I'm going to show you guys doing like a backlight RGB testing to see how accurate is the coloring, as well as how good is the backlight on this board. So I just have to make sure to connect it to a computer because, again, I don't have the tri-mode one, so I'm not able to just automatically turn on the lighting by turning on the wireless mode. So we plug it in and boom, you can see the light come through. So I have a bluish light right now going through it, but as you can see, all of them look identical. Like there is no hue to the different switches, which is great because the aqua switches, the Hall effect switches are the escape to like the plus sign. As you can see, no hues at all, which is great. It does go into sleep mode pretty quickly though, but I'm changing the different colors, right? The ASD, remember, the S is the fog, the D is the starlit switches, and there is no hue to it, which is great, meaning the backlighting is really well done, and all of them with the diffusers, which I really, really appreciate that they did it well. Now, as you can see in the H though, and then the J, the K, and the L, I think there is some shine through that's going through the keycaps though. So even though the shine through keycaps are helpful in terms of the lighting, just keep in mind that over time it might actually start to deteriorate and might not be good. And I can kind of see that there was like a pink hue that was coming through those letters. So just keep that in mind. These keycaps may not be the best keycaps. Now, as you can see on the Monsgeek website, so before I go into the software and where to find it, you can see the many different options in the Fun60 Ultra. Now, of course, it goes from $60 to like $90. $90 is like you're going all the way, right? You're going through like the tri-mode and the full-on max modifications you get, like the best thing you can get with that specific board. Now, as you can see here, right, it comes with like the 8K polling rate, and it has a ARM Cortex M4 CPU. So actually, it has a CPU in there to actually, constantly read through the refresh rate and the polling rate. This is really impressive. I'm actually quite impressed, honestly, that for the price that they're trying to sell this board at, it has all these options, and it even has the, as I said, Hall effect mechanical switch options. You can actually choose which one, or you can mix it up. That's crazy. And sometimes I think to myself, maybe this is the best way to do it, to have best of both worlds. I don't know if Hall effect switches right now honestly haven't gotten to the point yet where they are as good as mechanical switches, but do you actually use every single switch as a Hall effect, like rapid trigger, analog switch? If not, maybe this is the way to go about it, right? I don't know. Let me know down below in the comments what your thoughts are, because as I said, it depends on the person. Some people might like it, some people might not. It really will depend if you like to have mix of switches. So as you can see, Monsgeek actually has a link available, and it has a WebDriver. You can actually download it too, but there is a WebDriver. You can make an account and stuff. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this because this looks very similar to many other companies' software, right? I believe the LumenKey one looks similar. So did the Epo Maker. Like a lot of companies are kind of using this as a base set, but there is something interesting with this one though, is that you have that keyboard section where the combinations are. You're actually able to use that to set up modifications and change the keys. That's something really good. So a lot of other ones, it was very difficult to do that, and I found a way to do it with this one, which is awesome. One problem, as I said, I cannot change the arrow keys to be a little bit more comfortable, right? I want the FN to be under control. This thing doesn't allow me to change those red ones. It says it's a systems key that has been set, and I'm not able to touch it. Monsgeek, please open that up. Like, please open that up, because I really think that this keyboard could be super great and would be super comfortable to use if we had that option to put the FN on the corner. Like, that would really make it easier, and then do the arrow keys with the question mark, the alt, and the menu and the control instead. It would really help. Now, as you can see, now going into the Hall effect and like changing the analog settings, really not hard to do, as you can see there, and it gives you even a simulation that works really well. Really appreciate that. I don't think that there is so you do have the switch settings. Sorry, before I get to what I was thinking. So you do have the switch settings where you can click on the switch and what you're using, and depending on the switches, which is nice because you can actually easily just click and especially if you're going to use very specific ones, it's nice to just set it up in the software so that the keyboard just easily is able to tell. Of course, you have mod tap, dynamic keystroke, and you have toggle key, and there's SOCD, which is like the snap tap. Very, very good, right? Like you're getting, sorry, not a snap tap, but you have SOCD, and you're getting a lot of good options, like everything, pretty much everything that you want from a Hall Effect gaming board, you're able to get. Now, one thing though, I do wish that setting up the rapid trigger was much easier. This is one downside of the software. You actually have to like set it up like this. It's not super accurate. It'd be easier if you could just type in a number. That'd be much easier. And I have to like do that for every key. I can't select multiple keys to do it. It's either I select all keys or just one key at a time. So that is something that I think they should change as well and update on the software. And unfortunately for me, while I was doing this, I wasn't able to, and it's not comfortable. So it's easier if I can just set like a bunch of keys at once and then choose individual ones that I want differently, right? But the software unfortunately doesn't make it easy, and it's, as I said, right, like when you're using your mouse to do that, it's not super accurate, right? The numbering, like I have to do, it is nice that it has the plus and minus 0.1 millimeters, and it does allow for 0.1 millimeters, which is great in terms of doing the settings and like the analog settings for it in terms of the accuracy. But as I said, it's still kind of a pain, right? Like as you can see, it's kind of a pain, and I hope they actually change that. You know, I would really appreciate it if they changed it and updated it so it would be much easier to do. And I say this because in general, when you're working with Hall Effect boards, you want to make it as easy and simple as possible for the user. I truly believe that in general, like you can have, I know that Wooting has a really great software, and then there's like other companies like Logitech. I haven't been able to try Logitech or like Asus and their software, Razer, but at the end of the day, simple is best and optimized is best. Like it should be optimized, simple, and just works. Like that's all you want. You don't need anything crazier than that. Now, of course, I'm going to use Keyboard Inspector to test to see if it is 8K, and I actually wasn't getting the full just 8K seamlessly due to the scan rate and like how it's actually testing it. I'm not able to get the exact accurate 8K out of it, and unfortunately, I don't have a tool to actually fully check these things, and hopefully one day I can afford to do so. But as you can see, though, that this board is actually getting a really good polling rate, and it's got a really good scan rate, which is why it's doing this. Now, of course, now that we did all this, we need to go in and actually see it in a game and yeah, what it's like. So everyone knows, everyone that's on my channel will know, I play Apex Legends, and the best way I can test Hall Effect boards is through super gliding. Because I'm not a CS player or a Valorant player, I can't give you guys the, you know, perfect testing for like snap tap and how good is it. But what I can do is do this, which is showing off the ability to do super glide and Apex Legends. To explain it, it's a frame perfect of pressing crouch and space perfectly to be able to do what I just did, right, which is slide super quickly. One way you can also know that a super glide was done is the reason why I hold a shotgun and I make sure I shot some bullets is with that gold mag or the gold bolt. Every time I super glide, it should automatically read it as a reload, because when you slide it reloads, and a super glide in terms of the game actually counts it as a slide, right? So that's a super glide, but it's a slide, so it actually registers as a slide and it actually gives me a reload. So that's how I know I successfully did a super glide. Now, it's a Hall Effect board. I'm gonna be honest, I feel like at this point most Hall Effect boards are able to do this, right? It just comes down to the comfortability of the build and the design, right? Like out of all the Hall Effect boards I've tried so far, none have had issues in terms of just doing the rapid trigger and me being able to super glide on it, right? Every single time I show you guys and test it, they all have worked, and every single one, it depends on the design of it, how is it shaped for me to set up a perfect number for like the trigger. And yeah, I honestly think that using the Monsgeek, It felt comfortable though, and the reason why I felt comfortable is because it's a shape that I'm very used to, which was like my Wu-Ting, right? The Wu-Ting and this one have a very similar shape to each other that I felt that it was quite comfortable to use. I didn't have any issues using the board. The switches felt really nice, with the Aqua switches feeling really smooth after being lubed, and I mean, in general, right, everything comes down to the shape of the board, how thick is it or how high is it, and do you need a wrist rest. This one, I would say you do require a wrist rest because it's so squared off. I would say personally, a wrist rest would be better. Now, that's because for me, I like to keep my wrist flat on it, a wrist rest, and that's just the situation for me. Now, one thing I did notice though in this is I felt that the control crouching was not the greatest. See, I like to control crouch spam when I'm fighting, and as you can see there, it was a little bit awkward. Now, I don't know if it's because of the way I was pressing it, but that's something to note. Right? The control was a little bit not great for crouch spamming. But now I would like to actually go in-game, like an actual game, and kind of give you guys a little bit of footage in terms of gameplay, actually being in a game with people, and my thoughts on it, right? How does it work in not just a practice range, but in an actual game play? Now, I'll show you guys the farming portion of farm landing. That's just because, in general, one benefit of using a hollow board in terms of Apex, right, is once you land, having the quick press of picking up items is actually an advantage. It's an actual advantage. And some people might think, oh, why do you need a hollow board which doesn't do anything? The truth is, it's true. You don't need one. It's just a very small advantage that I get compared to someone else that would land right next to me at the same time. It's an incredibly small advantage, but it is an advantage if I'm running against someone with the exact same ping. Now, in terms of fighting, no issues, right? It's the same thing. In terms of actual fight, a Hall effect board in Apex isn't incredibly game changing. As I said, it's mostly used for the movement tech, and I would say movement tech as well as specifically opening up boxes, right? So one benefit of opening up boxes quickly, right, is the fact is if I press E and I can quickly open a box, is that it allows me to open a box to armor swap very quick, and that of course is an advantage. To be fair, you can still do it incredibly quick without the Hall effect board. I know some people I play with, they're able to do it incredibly quickly, and they don't have a Hall effect board. But it helps me. I'm just a bit slow, and ever since I started using Hall effect points, my swaps and opening boxes have gotten much faster than they used to be on a regular mechanical board. So those are the kind of benefits, right? And yeah, I mean, Hall effect boards, is it super necessary? I don't think it is. Though, to be fair, that's because I don't play CS or Valorant, and I think in terms of CS and Valorant, it actually is kind of game breaking because of the snap tap and mod tap features that you're able to do. Apex Legends, you just get a small advantage compared to others, but it is definitely something that's just a small advantage that I don't think is incredibly fully game breaking. We're oh, this is cheating level. Though, as I said, if we were playing Valorant or CS, it is a little bit different, right? And that's why I guess CS:GO ended up banning people that were using it, using snap tap or mod tap, and I can see a good reasoning behind it again, but I don't know. I guess it comes down to I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to is, do you want to make a game or have competitive pros be using make the difference in terms of winning by hardware or software advantages, and that is what technically Hall effect and rapid trigger keyboards do. I'm wondering what the next thing will be, though. Of course, I think Hall effect boards have now kind of gotten to the point where it's really a software battle or a price battle, and yeah, I mean, I'm curious, what's going to be the next technology that's really going to change it up. And even here, you can see, having Hall effect and making my movement move around doesn't mean that my aim's going to get better, and doesn't mean that I'm going to win that fight. Obviously, I haven't lost that fight there. And that's something it comes down to is it's your skill. No matter how good of a keyboard you use, it depends on your skill. You have to, of course, improve your gameplay and your skill set to be able to get better at a game. Now, I did really enjoy, playing on the with the Monsgeek, and yeah, I mean, it felt really easy for me to get used to, and that was just because if you come from like using a booting, it's pretty much like almost identical, the shape wise, like in terms of the comfort and what you're like the layout of it. So but there's one thing actually. So in this game, I should actually change the key bindings for this, but when I have to upgrade upgrade one of my skills after leveling up, definitely it's annoying to have to go all the way to F1, completely stop moving F1 and then 1. Now, going into really like comparing this board with other boards, because let me show you guys the other boards I'm talking about. So I didn't want to crowd out the screen completely, but this is the ND65 HE, the Wooting 60HE, we have the Made Pro, we have the Battle 65, there's also the Lumen Key one from the Hall effect, and sorry I can't say their name properly, as you guys know, and there's the Air 60HE from Newfie. I've tried out so many different Hall effect boards, and where would I place this compared to them? So like all of them have their benefits, right? The Battle 65 was the most budget that I've tried. Like it was around 40 USD to like 50 USD. The Wooting is like the much higher end of it, right? That whole build with all the modifications is like $350, not like easily. The Made Pro, the Air 60, the Lumen Key, and the Chill Key are all around the same price, about 100 USD. Now, where would I place this? Because as you guys saw, the Ultra was around like $60 USD. Could go all the way up to 90 if you get the tri-mode, everything. I would say the Monsgeek should sit above all. Like from, if you're considering everything, right? The things you have to consider: price, the fact that it has a decent software, has AK polling, is able to use mechanical switches as well, has an aluminum case, and sounds really good as well. There are some caveats, as I said, which is like the FN is not in the corner, no arrow keys like binding that you can do easily. I would say you really should take a look at this board. Honestly, it's going to be worth your time to take a look at it if you're looking at something that is more affordable.
Now, what did you guys think of the Fun60 Ultra that I would try it out? Like, the best comparison I can do with this board, and as I've shown you guys in the video, is going to be like the Wooting 60HE, the Air 60 from Newfie, and as I tried from like Monsgeek, and the Blade 65. No, sorry, the Battle 65. Sorry, my brain kind of stopped there. And my thoughts, like, how does this compare to all of them? And honestly, for about 60 USD, you can't go wrong with this one from Monsgeek. Their software was completely fine, and honestly, it sounds really good. It feels really premium, and the fact that you can do mechanical switches or Hall effect, or even combine the switches, like you can actually do just WASD and like some other ones as a Hall effect, and then the rest of the board is mechanical, so that you actually get like the mechanical feel. I think this is it. Like for that price, and if you're looking for something more budget for a Hall effect board that is a 60% size, you should go with this one. Like that's my opinion right now. Is out of all the ones I've tried so far, in the 60% range, I would go with this board, and it's just because it really does sound great. It's able to do those hybrid modes, and the only downside is the arrow key missing. And normally, let me give you an example here. It should be here, like the FN's on the right corner, and you're able to do the arrow key that way. Now, I honestly think that is quite a mistake on their side that they didn't do it. Like, it should be arrow key, and then you have these 4 down here, and here's the arrow key. I think that Monsgeek needs to open it up. Like, they need to go in their software and make that change. That's a big thing for me. Like, I love using my arrow keys often. I have set it up with this one, and I showed you guys in the video how to do it, but it is incredibly not good that I can't do it the way that these other 60% are. And that's a key thing, because you want your arrow key to be very, very comfortable to use. So I hope they open that up, and of course I'll mention that to them as well. But yeah, I mean, at the moment, I think that's the situation. I think if you're looking for 60% under the $100 range, you should be looking at this board. So I'll leave the links down below in the description, and please make sure to like and subscribe and check out the other videos I got.